So, just late last year, Poland went to the polls, and finally, after 8, 9 years, I think it was, the Peace and Justice Party, or PIS, as they are known as the little acronym, um, finally got given the boot. And this was, of course, an ultra right, ultra nationalist, very populist party that had been ruling Poland for almost roughly a decade. And during that time, they had done a lot of damage. And this is what you normally see when these far right ultra nationalist groups take over the government. They can do a lot of damage. You can look at Hungary with Viktor Orban in Poland. Look at the stuff that he's done over there. Hungary isn't exactly flourishing under his rule. He's just continuously shifting the blame and blaming other people for not carrying out his divine will. You look at Geert Wilders in the Netherlands. Yes, he's managed to gain a bit more of the vote, but if he actually genuinely got into power, his ideas and policies, again, wouldn't work. The Netherlands would not be a better place with Geert Wilders in charge. Same for Nigel Farage. If he ever found himself as like minister for the Home Office or immigration or heaven forbid prime minister, his policies and ideas would not make the country a better place to be. It would make it worse off. And one of the things that you are now seeing in Poland is, now that Donald Tusk is in charge, he part of his actions now is to try and clean up a lot of the mess that they had made, like restoring abortion rights in Poland. And this is one of the things that we're going to be talking about, not the abortion rights, but the fact that essentially, for my British viewers, think of it like this. Imagine the Conservatives were to basically say, okay, BBC, you are now fully owned and operated by the Conservative Party, and you take your orders from Conservative HQ. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, but that's like, no, 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 no. It's not like that at all. But that's what happened to the Polish media. Like, they're nationalized, or what used to be their nationalized, um, you know, media station in Poland. They took a lot of sort of left-wing media out as well. Um, during their time. So these types of governments can be very, very bad and do a lot of bad things and try, in effect, to sort of cement their rule. Not only that, one of the big challenges that Tusk is going to have in the future is that there are still, of course, the Supreme Court packed full. Pretty much all of them were elected by the PIS party. So they're pretty much going to probably veto any potential laws or anything like that Tusk might through to try and reverse things that the PIS have done in the past, and the damage that they've sort of created with their stuff. So that's going to be a big challenge for him to take. There's still another guy, I think, there, the prime minister, very much an ally, could also veto stuff. So it's not plain sailing at this moment for Poland. There are still a lot of challenges. Now, the big question comes, if I was a lefty in Poland, what would I do? Where would I vote? Well, my vote would always go to make sure that PIS stays out of power. I would gladly vote for Donald Tusk if it meant we can get rid of those ultra nationalists, right wing nut jobs. They would, whichever party can get rid of them, gets my vote. And I would gladly vote for a centrist right coalition, which Donald Tusk sort of is in Poland, to get those guys out. And this is one of the things I sort of worry about, that if this was ever to happen in like the UK, and let's say you had someone like Keir Starmer leading this sort of, coalition against what would be, let's say, reform. I would worry that there would be people on the left in sort of these key battleground seats who would gladly go and tick the box for reform, just so that someone like Keir Starmer would lose, regardless of the fact that, of course, the damage that another 4 years of a reform government could potentially do. I would not be surprised if the upcoming elections, there's a lot of lefties in key battleground seats do go and vote Conservative and then say, I've never voted Conservative because after all, it's a secret ballot. No one can ever really find out. But would not surprise me if there were a lot of lefties who just go, you know what, I'm going to vote for Conservative because I would rather see Keir Starmer lose than, get a better government in who is actually going to help improve things. But there you go. That's just one of the things that I think possibly might happen. But one of the things I want to have a look at is, we said, this media conflict that is going on in Poland, because this is, as we said, a lot of the damage that that Donald Tusk has now to undo because of their rulings and their idea. And there is a big conflict at the moment going on with that in Poland. So we're going to have a look at this because I find this, and I think you're going to see a lot of this stuff tried to sort of roll back a lot of these policies that the PiS put in place to essentially try and cement their rule and keep themselves in power almost indefinitely. And as we say, turning pretty much the national media organization into their own personal propaganda outlet, probably something that, Donald Tusk needs to undo. So before we get on into that, please remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and one off-station link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And of course, as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel. And of course, there is the Pony Club again down below, and of course, the YouTube thank you button as well. And of course, like everyone who clicks the like and share button, and of course, leave a comment down below. And if you're from Poland, please do let me know other things that changing and stuff like that, because I'd be very interested to sort of know and find out. Or is there outlets that I can follow that I can see what's going on in Poland? Because again, I'd be very interested to sort of follow this and sort of find out what's going on. So if you are from Poland and you do have those links, like I say, please do let me know down below in the comments, because again, I'd love to sort of follow this this transition. So over we go today to DW with their coverage of this, of Polish media conflict pits government against far right. So 3 weeks after changing power in Poland, the public media remains the most prominent political dispute between the centre-left government of Donald Tusk and Jazo Kazani's outgoing National Conservative Law and Justice Party, or PiS. President Arjil Dura, an independent and close to PiS, this is the guy who was talking about, again, going to cause a lot of problems, placed this topic at the center of his New Year's address, saying, "For the first time in free Poland since 1989, there is an attempt to take over the public media by force. The broadcasting signal of some TV channels was turned off and information programs were no longer broadcast," Dura said. "I will never accept the violation of the constitution, but unfortunately, we are all dealing with such a situation," he added, saying that the government can reform the media, but it must do so in accordance with the law. The president's words, which most commentators interpreted as confrontational, came in reaction to the latest development in the media dispute that has led to a kind of dual power between Christmas and New Year. New appointments to the supervisory management boards of 3 of the state-run media outlets by the culture minister Bartom Salvarskik on December the 19th had launched a new wave of protest by PiS. The populist National Conservative Party said that the personal changes were unlawful and refused to recognize them. PiS's parliamentary force had forced their way into the headquarters of the public broadcaster, TVP, and the news agency, PAV, to try and prevent the new leadership from taking their posts. The politicians who justified their actions as MP monitoring occupied their offices and scuffled with police. The protesters, of course, didn't end until after Christmas. Meanwhile, the building in Warsaw remains occupied. Duba has obviously subsequently tried to add fuel to the fire by vetoing the budget law that provided public media funding for over 3 billion zlotys. That's over 690 million euros. The move, of course, has turned out to be a major challenge for Prime Minister Tusk, whose culture minister dissolved the media 3 days later due to a lack of funds. According to the authorities, however, the aim is not to the actual close of the affected institutions, but restructuring their continued operation. The formal dissolution ends over the dispute who is the legal director, as lawyer Karsten Bolzanski tried to explain to the liberal daily Gazeta Volbonk. Yeah, sorry, I'm terrible at pronouncing these things. But after a break of several days, the main news program is now back on the air with new staff and a new name channel for TVP Info. is also now back on there. The era of agitation against the opposition is over, the online news platform Orlet wrote. This ongoing dispute is, of course, catastrophic to the prestige, credibility, and the future of media outlets now in question. But Bugaso Karaba, the editor-in-chief of the moderately conservative Res Politica, warned over the weekend, saying that all parties to the conflict bear joint responsibility for the institutional and material decline of public media, as well as the dwindling audience of readership figures, he wrote, calling for work to begin quickly on a new media law that would redefine financing tasks of the public media. Political influence on the information programs has been a serious problem in Poland since the emergence of the democratic state in 1990, with former heads of the governments and presidents even been known to personally make calls expressing their dissatisfaction with coverage. After the PiS prevailed in both presidential and parliamentary elections in 2015, the party leader, the parliamentary leader of it, Jalso Kaczynski, institutionalized the media as a propaganda tool, and PiS set up the National Media Council and an unconstitutional body that acted unilaterally on personal changes in the public media, enabling the removal of unpopular journalists. So, as you can see, what they did there was that they set up their own, as they said, their own media council. And if you were a journalist that wasn't friendly to PiS or criticized them just a bit too much, well, then you had to go. You can see why, honestly, this media and it being sort of renationalized. And honestly, I think Tusk should try and get these outlets to be more independent, which seems to be the way that he's trying to sort of take it. But like I say, we'll see how this plays out. But this is just, as we said, the first of many clashes that Tusk is going to have to try and undo a lot of the damage that, as we said, PiS has done over these past 8 years. So a new media law, of course, is not possible without the president's approval. As we said before, you can just veto it. But the governing coalition does not have enough MPs to reject the head of state's veto. President Dula may ultimately decide to cooperate, however. His advisor, Andrei Zuboski, recently said that television in the PiS era was not a model of objectivity, describing the information programs as just bad propaganda. While there have been plenty of good ideas for reforms over the years, the political will has been very much lacking for implementation. But media scholar Tuzes says that the draft of a comprehensive media reform already does exist. There have already been plenty of public consultations for over 2 years with very concrete principles that have been prepared, including new financing concepts, Cozy told the private TV station at TVN. The chairperson of the Parliamentary Culture Committee, Bozgan, said that he would work on the draft of law and try to begin it in the course of the new year. The focus of public media should be on citizens and not politicians, Carsey said. Politicians should be in the minority on trustee councils. That combined task of the supervisory and program councils, he suggested, and personal decisions should return to the jurisdiction of the National Broadcasting Council, as things were before PiS came into power. After last exchange of blows, both sides, including the president and the government, know that they have strong cards at their disposal and will not hesitate to use them in an emergency. Now is the time to try and start these negotiations. The Zula journalist wrote in Res Politica. Though the PiS leader, Jalso, has said that he is now on the losing side of the dispute over the media, he does not appear to be giving up the fight, calling for another rally in front of the parliamentary building in Warsaw on January 11th under the slogan, "The Defense of Free Media." Should I laugh or cry? Writer and playwright Arthur Liga wrote in Res Politica, adding that the notion would be absurd, as Russian President Vladimir Putin is calling on a rally in Red Square in Moscow in defense of invading Ukraine. So this is again another fight that is going to go on in Poland, and this is probably what you are going to see, honestly, over the next, if not year, if not the next couple of years, as Tusk and sort of his coalition try and undo a lot of these laws. But like I say, you've got, um, I think you've got the sort of the president and the prime minister. So Tusk is president, but of course, um, as we said, the other guy, the prime minister, he's very much a close ally of the PiS party. So could he try and veto a lot of these? We've talked before about the Supreme Court in Poland, very, very much stacked with PiS judges. So this is going to cause, I think, a lot of problems for Tusk, and going to be causing a problem for a lot of for their reforms and what they want to do, and try and sort of re-liberalize after sort of 8 years of nationalist rule. It's going to be sort of interesting to watch and see how they sort of do this, but this is how, again, Donald Tusk took on nationalists, took on populists, and he won. And I think that is something that needs to have a close look at, and certainly other politicians across from Europe need to have a look at and go, how do we tackle this? How do we do this? But we'll see how this conflict falls out. But like I say, I wouldn't be surprised if this conflict does continue, and you do see more clashes like this of PiS trying to sort of reject any sort of liberalizing ideas, or the rolling back of sort of stuff that they implemented during their time in when they were in power. But that remains a very sort of somewhat interesting topic, being sort of an outsider sort of looking in. But I'd be very interested to know from people from Poland what you think about this. And again, like I say, do recommend me any outlets where, of course, this is sort of going to be followed and this is really going to be looked up, because I'd be very interested to sort of follow this as well. It would be good to see what Polish journalists and other people in Poland are saying about the ongoing sort of stuff like this. So if you know people, articles, blogs, papers, etc., to follow, then let me know. I'd be very interested in following this conflict as it unfolds. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and of course, as always, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, until next time, we'll see you all next time.